Chapter 22. Game Day. At last. Normally, Hutch would have passed the time with Cody, trying to make the day go by faster, speeding everything up the way you did when you skip through the boring parts of a movie on DVD. But today they could only hang together until just after lunch because this turned out to be the day Mrs. Hester had scheduled Cody to have his teeth cleaned. A trip to the dentist right before the finals, Cody said, as if they were finishing their lunch at his house. Dude, that is just plain dirty. Dirty was one of Cody's favorite catch-all words. If a pitcher threw a nasty pitch to get somebody out, the pitcher was dirty. Or the pitch was. And it was good or bad, depending on whether the pitcher was yours or not. So basically, there was good dirty and bad dirty. In this case, having to go see the dentist on this particular afternoon was bad dirty all the way. I have a feeling you'll survive, Hutch said. What if he finds a cavity? Cody said. What if I need a filling? There's a lot that could go wrong, and then before you know it, he's reaching for the needle in the Novocaine. Hutch reached over, patting him on the back. Look at it this way, he said. I'm almost positive Novocaine isn't on baseball's list of banned substances. A half hour later, Cody left to go to the dentist. He told Hutch he could borrow his dad's key to the batting cage at Fallon Field if he wanted, but Hutch said no. He hadn't done that on the day of a game since the Cardinal season had started, and was superstitious enough, on game day especially, not to start doing that now. If he wanted the extra hitting and the series did go 3 games, maybe he'd go over to Fallon on Sunday, an off day. It was still only 1 in the afternoon. The game didn't start at Roger Dean until 7, and the bus from Santa Luces didn't leave until 4:30. Hutch went to his room and turned on the fan and lay down on his bed and tried to think the happy thoughts his mom was always telling him to think, trying to visualize all the good things he wanted to happen against the Orlando Astros tonight. Connie Hutchinson was big on visualizing, and even bigger on dreams, and chasing your dreams and achieving your dreams. For as long as Hutch could remember, she had been teaching him to visualize the way he wanted things to work out in his life. Hutch lay there, alone in the house in the afternoon, closed his eyes, pictured line drives and diving plays in the field, and runs crossing the plate for the Cardinals. What he couldn't do was make the afternoon get out of the way for tonight. Every time he'd look over at the clock on his desk, it was as if the hands had barely moved. The way the clock in your classroom wouldn't move when you wanted a class to end. His mom was at work. His dad, he knew, was at Emerald Dunes. There was no Marlins game for him to listen to on the radio or even watch on TV if he wanted. He thought about watching a movie on his computer, maybe the secondhand DVD of The Natural that he'd bought for himself at Blockbuster and nearly worn out by now. But he knew he wouldn't be able to concentrate, not even on the good parts. Not today. So he came up with a better idea of something to watch, a dream that he didn't need to visualize because it would be right there on his own television. His game-winning home run against the Yankees. Yeah, Hutch thought. I'll visualize the heck out of that. It was when he came downstairs to get the cassette of the Channel 12 sports report that he saw the scrapbooks on the coffee table, the ones of his dad's baseball career that his mom had lovingly put together. Hutch couldn't imagine that his dad had taken them out to look at, so his mom must have had them out after everybody had gone to bed the night before. The game stories out of the newspaper and the photographs had come from Grammy Hutchinson. Grammy hadn't been much at organization, but she didn't like to throw anything out either. And when they were going through her possessions after she died a couple of years ago, Hutch's mom had come across the big old box that had his dad's baseball career crammed into it. Slowly, without telling anybody, Hutch's mom had gone to work on that box, finding stories from the Post that went all the way back to when his dad had played Little League. Finally, she bought 2 beautiful leather albums, even though his dad had said they were way too expensive for a bunch of baseball games everybody had forgotten about. You haven't forgotten about those games, she'd said to Hutch's dad, and now neither will we. His dad, seeing how important this was to her, instantly, seeing how much work had gone into this gift, tried to act pleased then, sitting on the couch and going through the pages one by one. Hutch's mom on one side of him, and Hutch on the other. But even that day, his dad sitting there with what had to have been the best years of his life right there in his lap, Hutch could see he was just going through the motions, acting the way he thought Connie Hutchinson wanted him to act. If it hurt his mom's feelings, she didn't let on. I love them, he'd said when he got to the last page of the second book, the one that had a picture of him signing his first pro contract. Thank you so much. Then he did something he hardly ever did when Hutch was around. He kissed her. It was the first time and last time Hutch could remember him opening those books. Hutch hadn't opened them up again either, until today. He sat there in the silent room, the silent front room in the quiet house in the middle of the day and looked at the pictures of his dad in the Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Ones of him playing high school ball and holding up the state high school championship plaque. Ones of his dad in his own American Legion uniform, so tight on him back in the day that it looked to be a couple of sizes too small. There was his dad scoring the winning run when Post 226 beat Jacksonville in the finals when he was 14 years old. There was his dad, bat cocked, looking oh so serious, in the fake baseball card somebody had made up for him when he was a senior in high school. Once Hutch opened the books up, it was as if he couldn't stop going through them. Maybe it was because his dad looked happy on the pages of these books, happier than Hutch ever saw him now. He sat there on the couch and found himself wishing he could have known that Carl Hutchinson, the one who loved baseball this much more. Too much, according to his dad. Just once, Hutch wanted to see baseball make his dad look this happy again. No, Hutch thought, not just baseball. Me. A woman from the American Legion Tournament Committee met them near the two palm trees outside Gate B a little after 5, walked them through the stands behind the first base dugout and around the picnic area before they finally came to the building behind the right field wall where the real Cardinals dressed for spring training games. Once they were inside the clubhouse, they saw the lockers for Albert Pujols and the rest of the team, saw where Tony La Russa's office was, felt the thick carpet under their feet. Cody said, I'm glad we're getting to play out there, pointing back in the general direction of the field, but I'm pretty sure I want to live here. Tommy O'Neill, who lived a couple of blocks away from Santa Luces in Lantana, said, This room is bigger than my whole house. Yeah, said Chris Mahoney, but remember something. Tonight it's our house. Most of the guys had gotten on the bus already, dressed in their uniforms. Not Darrell. He had worn a t-shirt and cut-off jeans and sandals, and was quietly changing into his uniform now at Pujols' locker. There was, Hutch noticed, no wide-eyed wonder from Darrell about being in here, being on the inside, any more than there had been the night before when they'd first taken the big field for practice. Darrell acted as if this was exactly where he was supposed to be. Hutch thinking, Cody and me and the rest of the guys, we only dreamed about playing ball here someday. Darrell expected to be here. When Darrell had his spikes on and was good to go, Hutch walked over to him, put out his hand. Darrell looked up at him, waiting just long enough to make Hutch think he was going to ignore the gesture, just to leave him hanging. But finally he reached up and casually gave Hutch a sideways slap. Let's do this, Hutch said. He didn't expect them to suddenly be the best of friends just because they were in the finals. Tonight Hutch just wanted them to be the best teammates they could be. Darrell just shrugged. I'm good, he said. To the end, it was as if D-Will were a baseball team all by himself. The guy's consistent, Hutch thought. You've got to give him that. Hutch saw a television cameraman near the third base dugout when the Cardinals took the field, saw him aiming his camera and his TV light at two announcers in blazers, neither one of whom Hutch recognized. Sometimes the announcers would look at each other, sometimes straight into the camera, as if they couldn't make up their minds. What can they possibly be talking about? Hutch said. The game doesn't start for another hour and a half. Probably taping their stand-up, Cody said, as the Cardinals started to stretch in front of their dugout on the first base side. Their stand-up, Hutch said. I'm not just your average jock, Cody said in a smug way. I know things. They stretched and hit and took infield, and now the minutes did start to fly by, until the Orlando players were being introduced first, lining up along the third base line the way big leaguers did before Game 1 of the World Series. Hutch was watching from behind the screen in the Cardinals' dugout, taking it all in, noticing that by now a decent crowd had filled in the seats on the other side of the field. Hutch knew it would be mostly friends and family for Orlando, the way it would be for the Cardinals tonight, but he didn't care. Inside his head, this baby was going to be standing room only. When the public address announcer finally called out his name, batting third and playing second base for post 226, number 2, Keith Hutchinson, he jogged out to stand next to Mr. Cullen and Alex and Brett. Slapped them all 5, turned and saw his parents and Cody's parents behind the first base dugout, in front of a whole row of blue Comcast signs. Both Hutch's mom and Cody's started waving at him like mad when they saw him look in their direction. Hutch, trying to be cool, just nodded. Then he caught his dad's eye. His dad nodded back. He had made it in time. He was here. Like always, Hutch took what he could get.